නමාමි බුද්ධං ගුණසාගරන්තං සන්තා සදා හොන්තු සුඛී අවේරා කායෝ ජිගුංචෝ සකලෝ දුගන්ධෝ ගච්ඡන්ති සම්බේ මරණං අහංච නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස ඥානතෝ අහං බින්කවේ පස්සතෝ ආසවානං khයං වදාමි නෝ අජානතෝ නෝ අපස්සතෝ කිංච භික්ඛවේ ඥානතෝ පස්සතෝ ආසවානං khයෝ හෝති ඉදං දුක්ඛන්ති භික්ඛවේ ඥානතෝ පස්සතෝ ආසවානං khයෝ හෝති අයං දුක්ඛ සමුදයෝති ඥානතෝ පස්සතෝ ආසවානං khයෝ හෝති අයං දුක්ඛ නිරෝධෝති ඥානතෝ පස්සතෝ ආසවානං khයෝ හෝති අයං දුක්ඛ නිරෝධගාමිනී පටිපදාති ඥානතෝ පස්සතෝ ආසවානං khයෝ හෝති එවං කෝ භික්ඛවේ ඥානතෝ පස්සතෝ ආසවානං khයෝ හෝති. Homage to the exalted one, the worthy one, the supremely enlightened one. Dear friends in Dhamma, in this discussion we are going to discuss one of the main teachings in Buddhism. It names the Four Noble Truths. All Buddhist doctrines can be included into this topic, the Four Noble Truths. I think all of you have heard this name. In Pali it says Chattari Arya Satchani. I think you have heard about this Four Noble Truths, isn't? And here, first of all, I would like to explain the primary qualities that we have to practice according to what the Buddha taught. Buddhist doctrines can be included into two, in the mundane level and the supramundane level. In the mundane level, the Supreme Buddha explained what are the qualities that we have to practice. In the primary level, all of them can be included into three. They are 5 precepts, loving kindness, and mindfulness. In the primary level, they are very important. With the understanding of the karmic law, we should practice Panchasila, 5 precepts. Abstaining from taking life, abstaining from stealing, abstaining from sexual misconduct, abstaining from foul speech, abstaining from intoxicating drinks and drugs. These are the primary qualities that we can practice for our inner peace and the peace of the world peace. The next one is practicing loving kindness. The reason is that we always suffer because of anger. If we are able to reduce anger, it means we can overcome more than 50% stress from our mind. We mostly suffer because of anger. If we are not pleasant with someone or something, then suddenly we get angry. If we have practiced loving kindness again and again, then we can control anger. If we are able to control our anger, it means we can control more than 50% problems in our life. That is why always Buddhism encourages us to practice loving kindness, thinking thus, may all beings be well, happy and peaceful. Thirdly, we practice mindfulness. It means keeping our attention in the present moment. We always live in the past or future. That is the nature of our mind. If we are able to live in the present moment, then we can understand what kind of thoughts come to our mind, whether those mental formations are unwholesome or wholesome, or defilements or not defilements. Then we always check our mind, what happens to my mind. Practicing mindfulness is very useful to recognize what kind of thoughts are in my mind. These three things are very important in the mundane level. And when we practice these qualities in the mundane level, it is very important to understand the karmic law. I think you have heard about the karma or its consequence. Karma means what action we do with intention, physically, verbally or mentally. According to our mental condition, when our mind is polluted, the actions that we do through our body, words or mind, the results are evil. Results are negative. If our mind is pure and calm, when we do something physically, verbally or mentally, then our results are fruitful, are useful for our life. This is the very first understanding that we receive when we go on the path of liberation. If we have this understanding, we always try to overcome evil thoughts from our mind. That is the very first advice in Buddhism, Sabba Papa Sakarana. Not to do any evil, physically or verbally. If we have this understanding and behavior, it means we have a good protection in our life, security, safety in our life. We are so free, we are so happy. We have no regrets in our life if we can practice moral conduct, discipline in our speech and behavior. And the second thing is Kusala Sukha Sampada. We practice good deeds, 3 meritorious deeds with the understanding of the karmic law, Dana, Sila and Bhavana. Practicing generosity, virtue and meditation. These are the very primary level material meritorious deeds that we can practice for inner peace. We practice these qualities to shine our mind. Buddha says, meritorious deeds which help us to decorate our mind and shine our mind. And by doing good deeds, meritorious deeds, we shine, we decorate our mind. And also the second thing that Buddha explained, not only karmic law that we should understand, but we should have another experience, another understanding. What is that? It means the dependent origination, Paticcasamuppada. In the primary level, we are able to reduce 5 hindrances, Pancha Nivarana, Kamachanda, sensual desire, Vyapada, ill will, Tinamidda, sloth and torpor, Uddhacca Kukkhucca, restlessness and scruples, and Sakka Sankha, skeptical doubt. These are the 5 hindrances that disturb our peace of mind in the mundane level. By practicing loving kindness and moral conduct, we are able to overcome these 5 hindrances in the mundane level. If someone can overcome these 5 hindrances from his mind, it means he is like a divine being. He is like a Brahma being in the Brahma realm. Even though we are physically in the human realm, mentally we are in the Brahma realm. We have overcome forms. We don't depend on outside persons and things at that moment. We depend on inside mental formations. But still we have no real liberation. When Buddha appeared in the world, there were some ascetic people who had realized this level, but they didn't recognize ignorance or delusion. They thought that mental formations are certain or permanent. It goes from birth to birth, and also they believe a self or ego which is permanent. After Buddha appeared in the world, Buddha explained that this mind or mental formations are also impermanent. Then Buddha proclaimed to the world how we overcome delusion or ignorance. Then Buddha explained the Four Noble Truths and the dependent origination. These 2 topics are very, very important in Buddhism. They are interrelated. Understanding the Four Noble Truths, dependent origination, and 3 characteristics, Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta. These 3 things are interrelated. But they are the Four Noble Truths, the dependent origination, and 3 characteristics. These 3 things are interrelated. The more we understand the Four Noble Truths, the more we understand the dependent origination or Paticcasamuppada and 3 characteristics, 3 lakshana. The more we realize the dependent origination of Paticcasamuppada, the more we understand the Four Noble Truths and the 3 characteristics. The more we realize the 3 characteristics, the more we understand the Four Noble Truths and the dependent origination. In this situation, these 3 things are very important. These 3 things are interrelated. This is the place where we can check our wisdom, our intelligence. And the center point is that understanding the suffering or the noble truth of suffering or dissatisfaction. The Four Noble Truths means Dukkha, Samudaya, Nirodha, Magga. Suffering or dissatisfaction, its cause, its cessation, and the path that leads to cessation from suffering. Here, it is very important to understand suffering and the noble truth of suffering. And the cause of suffering and the noble truth of the cause of suffering. And the cessation of suffering and the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. The path that leads to getting rid of suffering and the noble truth of that leads to getting rid of suffering. Ordinary people in the world, they are able to understand suffering, cause, cessation and path. What is the common truth of suffering? Jatipi dukkha, birth is suffering. Jarapi dukkha, decay is suffering. Vyadipi dukkha, sickness is suffering. Maranampi dukkham, death is suffering. Appe sampayogo dukkha, associating with unpleasant people is suffering. Piyehi vippayogo dukkha, separation from beloved ones is suffering. These are the common things in the world as suffering. Anyone can understand when we get sick, when we are going to die, we can understand it is suffering for everyone. This is the normal truth of suffering in this world. But the noble truth of suffering that Buddha has realized is different. Your intelligence, your wisdom, your skillfulness depends on understanding the difference of suffering and the noble truth of suffering. The second one, the cause of suffering and the noble truth of the cause of suffering. When we discuss the cause of suffering, we always think that the cause is outside. When someone disturbs me, that is the cause of suffering. When someone dies, when someone gets sick outside, the object of sickness is or suffering is outside. We always direct our finger to others. You bring me suffering. You make me angry. And you make me happy. We always look at outside in this level. The reason is that we think suffering comes from outside. This is the ordinary understanding. But Buddha says the cause of suffering is not outside. The cause of suffering is inside. For example, when someone has misbehavior, we think that you make me angry. Even though I am angry with that person, someone may laugh. Someone may be happy with him or her. If that person brings suffering to me, that suffering should be common to everyone. But when that person has misbehavior, I am unhappy, but someone is happy. The object is same. In this situation, we can understand the cause of suffering is inside. Our attitude, our intention, our view. If we can correct our view, we can change the problem. And also the third one, the cessation of suffering. When we describe the cessation of suffering, in the Buddha's time, there were some ascetic people, they thought that suffering comes from outside, therefore they gave up everything. Their properties, their relatives, their shelters, They gave up everything for their liberation. Finally, they gave up their even clothes too. They were naked for finding liberation. The reason is that they thought that suffering comes from outside. Therefore, they rejected everything. They gave up everything for their liberation, enlightenment. But they couldn't attain the liberation. Why is that? Even though they gave up everything, they couldn't overcome their self-view, their desire to their inside. That is why they were unable to overcome suffering completely. In this situation, Buddha explained the thing that we have to overcome is inside. If we can overcome the attachment to our inside, then suddenly we can overcome suffering. Fourth one, the path that leads to getting rid of suffering. In the primary level, people think that when they practice Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa like that, they think there is someone outside. Therefore, I should have discipline. I should not disturb you, because if I disturb you, it's a problem for you. They always had a discipline thinking that there are some people and things outside. It is also good in some levels, but that point of view is not useful to overcome the samsaric circle completely. Why is that? There were some people at that time who practiced that path, thinking there is someone outside. They practice Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vaca, Samma Kammanta, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Finally, they attain some spiritual levels in jhana levels, but they stopped in concentration. No more. But the difference in Buddhism that Buddhist Eightfold Path doesn't stop in tranquility or samadhi or concentration. Samahito bhikkhave yatha bhutam pajanati. He whose mind is concentrated, he contemplates on impermanence. He doesn't stop in concentration. He practices tranquil meditation for his insight meditation. And he has to practice another 2 steps, that Samma Jnana and Samma Vimukti, right knowledge and right liberation. But those people who looked at outside, they stopped in right concentration, but it is in the mundane level. The difference in Buddhism is that we start this path, Samma Ditti, right understanding. What is the difference of right understanding in Buddhism and other religions? Other religious people's right understanding is only karmic law. Only understanding the karmic law. In the first level of Samma Ditti. What is the difference in Buddhism? Yes, the Buddhist right understanding is that dukkhe jnanam, samudaya jnanam, nirodha jnanam, magga jnanam. The knowledge of suffering, the knowledge of cause of suffering, the knowledge of the cessation of suffering, the knowledge of the path that leads to getting rid of suffering. That is the difference. And here, the main point is that understanding the noble truth of suffering. First, I explained the suffering that ordinary people have understood. Their suffering is that aging is suffering, decay is suffering, sickness is suffering, death is suffering, rebirth is suffering. Those are the ordinary level understanding. But what is the Buddhist understanding in suffering? Kāyikan dukkhaṃ, cetasikan dukkhaṃ tapetvā avasesaṃ dukkha saccyaṃ. If there is something except physical suffering and mental suffering, that is the truth of suffering. What is that? It means the very first experience that we receive through our six senses as the result of our previous mental formations. The very first experience is neither wholesome nor unwholesome. It is neutral. But very first experience is very instant. We are unable to reach the first experience. Even Arahants are unable to reach the first experience. It is very instant. It is unable to control. But we can control the second experience. After we recognize something, after our first experience, then we can control it if we are mindful and wise. Mindfulness and wisdom are very important here. Very first experience only should be realized, only should be understood. But the second experience can be controlled. What is the second experience? Second experience is that mind and mental formations. Very first experience, when we see something, when we taste something, when we smell something, when we hear something, when we touch something, the very first experience immediately ceases. When we recognize something, the first experience has ceased. When you recognize me as a monk, the first experience has ceased. When you hear and recognize something what I say, my first words have ceased. We recognize something through our mind. When we recognize something through our mind, the first experience has ceased. The very first experience are very poor. First experience are helpless. It is neutral. It is very poor. But the very second experience is very strong. And if we are mindful and wise, then suddenly we can understand what happens to my mind. Now I recognize through my mind, not through my ear. When we recognize something that who has blamed me, I recognize that sound through my mind. When I recognize through my mind, the first scolding has ceased. Then, if I angry something, if I have attachment to something, what is that? That is our mind. That is our five aggregates. If you like something, you may think that I like you, I love you, but you have loved your own mind. When I preach you, I think that there are a lot of people here. But when I look at you, when I understand you, my first experience has ceased. I have made an audience through my mind, not in outside world. No audience here when I recognize you. I preach Dhamma to my own mind. I preach Dhamma to my 5 aggregates. But my ignorance doesn't believe it. That my ignorance, delusion says that there are a lot of people outside. I am so happy today. But audience is made by my 5 aggregates. This is the reality. If we have loved someone, if we have got angry with someone, it means, we have loved our 5 aggregates. The very first 5 aggregates have ceased already, but the second experience is that the 5 aggregates of clinging, the 5 groups of existence of clinging, that is the cause of suffering. And the first experience doesn't disturb our peace of mind. The very first experience is instant. That first experience not should be removed, because nobody can remove it. Buddha says, dukkha, dukkhaṃ pariññeyyam, the noble truth of suffering should be realized, not should be removed or rejected. Nobody can reject it. Nobody can remove it. But we can control the 5 aggregates of clinging, panca upadana-khandha. With the understanding of the noble truth of suffering, dukkha satya, if we know that if I am ignorant, if I make something outside, materially, when they change, when they die, when they get sick, those sickness, those deaths come to my life. Because I have taken them as mine, as me, as myself. In this situation, the very first thing, the noble truth of suffering is that 5 aggregates, only 5 groups of existence. Then the second one, samudaya satya, or the noble truth of the cause of suffering. The cause of suffering is inside, nandiraga, the attachment to my inside. The attachment to 5 aggregates, clinging 5 aggregates. Then that is the noble truth of the cause of suffering. The cause of suffering is not outside. The cause of suffering, the cause of dissatisfaction is inside. Attachment to my soul, my mind, myself. And also the third one, nirodha satya, the cessation of suffering. What is the cessation of suffering? The ordinary people may think that the cessation of suffering depends on outside. That is why they removed everything. They gave up everything, even their clothes. But Buddhism doesn't say it. We should give up our self, our ego, our attachment to our own life. That is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. Yo tassa eva asesa viraga nirodho chago patinissaggo mutyanalayo. Not any attachment to our own life. That is the nirodha satya. If we want to overcome the nirodha satya, If we want to remove the attachment, Buddhism usually says that ragakyo, dosakyo, mohakyo, nibbana, the end of desire, the end of anger, the end of delusion is the liberation. But the important thing is that even though Buddhism says that we have to overcome greed, anger and delusion, we are unable to overcome like that. For example, if this hall is very dark, how do we remove that darkness? Yes, we have to put on a light. Then automatically darkness disappears. Like that. Even though Buddhism says we have to overcome greed, anger and delusion for liberation, we have to do it with right understanding, wisdom, panya or sammaditthi. What is that? What is that path? Understanding the dependent origination, arising and ceasing of five aggregates, arising and ceasing of six senses, six objects, 18 elements, nama rupa, mentality and corporeality. Everything are impermanent. Our I is impermanent. I is impermanent means the ability of I arises at the moment. It is not alone. The I cannot be seen. The I means in Buddhism the ability of seeing. That I arises when forms are here, when lights are here, when my intention is here. When all things are together at the moment, the I arises. When forms are not here, my eye is blind. Even though my eye is here, forms are here, if my intention is not here, my eye is blind. All of them should be together at the moment when suddenly everything, I, forms, I consciousness, lights, intention, mental formations, all of them arise together at the moment with my intention. Everything is impermanent. Impermanence means they didn't come the present from the past. The present experience will not go to future from the present. They arise and cease at the moment. Other senses are also like that. My tongue, my nose, my ear, my body. My body is alive when I have some contact. If I haven't contact, my body is blind. My body is dead. These six senses, when one sense is alive, other five senses are dead. But these senses are very quick. They are very fast. Therefore we think that all six senses work together. But it is not true. When one sense is alive, when one sense acts, other five senses are dead. But these five senses, except mind, are very, very instant, and we mostly live in mental formations. We always live in the past experience. For example, when you go somewhere, when you focus some light, flashlight, you always focus it front, but your legs are here. You always live in the past experience, but your eyes are front. When you drive, you look at over there, but your wheels of your car is here. You are sitting here. Your car is here. Your wheels are here. but your eyes are there. Like that. When you eat something, you are looking at the plate. Very beautiful food in the plate. Very tasty. You look at the plate, but you are tasting here. You think that the taste that you receive at the moment is in the plate. But no, reality is not that. The taste that you have at the moment is in your mouth. Is it beautiful? It is like vomiting. Our all experiences that we have in this life is like that. When you say that this flower is very beautiful, this smell is very nice, this food is very tasty, this sound is very sweet, very nice, this thing is very soft. When you say that you lived in the past experience, our entire life is like that. If we have this understanding, when you get angry, when your mind is lustful, you are so shy. You are angry with your mental formations. You are angry with your 5 aggregates. You have loved your 5 aggregates. When you get angry with someone, when you have lust with someone, the first experience has ceased. This is the reality. This is only the knowledge that we receive through listening. Even though you have listened to this message, as soon as you live here, everything lost. That is why again and again you have to reflect on it. This is the reality. If we want to achieve this liberation, we have to think this reality again and again. When someone blames you, when you get angry with someone, it means you should understand, you should look at your inside. What happens to my mind? Nobody or nothing can bring me happiness or suffering. I create happiness or suffering myself, inside. It doesn't mean that mental formations are permanent. Mental formations are impermanent. And if we have mindfulness and wisdom, suddenly we realize even this understanding also impermanent. Why is that? There were some ascetic people in the Buddha's period. They thought that everything is impermanent outside. And everything is inside also impermanent. But there is a person who is permanent, who looks at everything, who recognizes everything. He is permanent. They thought that 5 aggregates are here, I am here. I am looking 5 aggregates. I am permanent, but 5 aggregates are impermanent. What is the Buddhist concept, Buddhist teaching? 5 aggregates are my entire life. I am not separate from 5 aggregates. When I recognize it, this is my entire life. When I contemplate the impermanence of 5 aggregates, that is me. I am not away from reflecting on impermanence. Then, little by little, we can go forward. Then we find the path, the 4th noble truth. What is that? The Eightfold Path. The path that leads to getting rid of suffering. Samma Ditti, right understanding, Samma Sankappa, right thoughts or right intention. Samma Vacha, right speech. Samma Kammanta, right actions. Samma Ajiva, right livelihood. Samma Vayama, right effort. Samma Sati, right mindfulness. Right concentration or tranquility. Samma Samadhi. We practice all the steps with this understanding. What is the understanding? The dependent origination. What is the dependent origination? Not being occurred comes to occurrence. Being occurred will not go to occurrence. Ahutva sambhutang hutva nabhavisati. Whatever we experience to our life, it means they are impermanent. Impermanence means the present experience didn't come the present from the past. The present experience will not go to future from the present. Whatever we experience, everything. We are unable to see something two times. First time, it arises and immediately ceases, like when we go to a mirror. Again we can go to the same mirror. The reflection is same, but it has changed. The first experience ceased completely when we left it. When we go back there, suddenly again very new experience, new reflection appears there. Our all experiences that we receive through our eye, through our tongue, through our nose, through our ear, through our body, even through our mind, all experiences are like that. This is the understanding of the dependent origination, impermanence. When we understand this impermanence, we know if someone doesn't understand this reality, he has to become dukkha or suffering. And also anatta. Anatta means we are out of control. We are unable to control anything. We have to do only thing, look at this reality mindfully and wisely. That is the ability that we should develop. We can do it. We can create a mind that nobody disturbs. We can make an unshakable mind. That is the way we are going to overcome this suffering and selflessness. And for that, the main point is that understanding the noble truth of suffering. The noble truth of suffering means the very first experience that we receive through our senses as the result of previous karmas, previous actions. If we are ignorant, then avidya paccaya sankhara, mental formations arise because of delusion. Sankhara paccaya vijnanam, consciousness arises because of mental formations which consist with ignorance. And we are going to until jara, vyadhi, marana, decay, sickness, death like that. They come to our life. If we are ignorant, suddenly we look at outside. When we experience something, we suddenly look at outside. There are some permanent things outside. When you remember your children, your mom, your dad, your wife, husband, children, suddenly you think that they are outside. Your mind is fixed outside. You take them as permanent. When they change, you get sad, you get unhappy. This is the nature of our life. If we can make an unshakable mind understanding this reality, little by little we go forward. Little by little we develop our understanding for noble truths, and we have right intention. Always we keep our attention in the correct way, and also right speech. We always speak something with this understanding. We have self-control in our speech. Samma kammanta, right action. We always do good actions physically. And also right livelihood. Whatever we do for our livelihood, we do everything righteously. And also right effort. We have effort that overcome to bad deeds and practice to good deeds. And also right mindfulness. Always we contemplate on our body and mind. We are always aware of our body and mind. We don't give any chance to anyone to disturb our peace of mind, because always we are aware of our body and mind. And also the eighth one, right concentration or tranquility, Samma Samadhi. As the result of practicing mindfulness and concentration meditation, we concentrate our mind in the present moment with positive thoughts. Then mind is still, and mind is very calm and quiet. When mind is calm and quiet in stillness, then we reflect on worldly reality as it is, impermanence, dissatisfaction and selflessness. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. And day by day we go forward. We always train our mind to live in the present moment. When we go here and there, we are aware of our body postures. From morning to night, whatever we do, we always do everything keeping our attention in this area. Sati nimitta, the mindful target. It is here. If you keep your attention here, it means you live in the present moment. Keeping our attention here, we walk, we eat, we say something, we look at something. Always we know that my intention is here. Then we can go everywhere. We can associate with anyone. The reason is that we have mindfulness. For example, when you focus your flashlight somewhere, if it is in your hand, it is not a problem. If you throw it, you lose your flashlight. We always do like that. But when we focus something, when we experience something through our senses, if our mindfulness here, it means the handle of the flashlight is in our hand. It means we can see everywhere. We can see something, we can hear something, we can taste something, but we know very well, I taste something, but I recognize it through my mind, mental formations, and also that mental formations are even impermanent. Then I don't take them as permanent, as me, as mine, as myself. Then my mind is in equanimity. I am only a seeker. I am not a subject. I am an object. Now I am a subject. I look at something. I see something. I am angry with you. I hate you. Always we are subjects. But when we understand this reality, we become objects. And we see the reality as it is. The world realities are anicca, dukkha, anatta. Every moment, my entire life, with mind and body arises and ceases, they are impermanent. And this is dissatisfactory. They have no real happiness depending on these senses or objects outside. And also egolessness. I have no control anything or anyone inside or outside. Even inside, I am unable to control my even mental formations. They are also impermanent. Every moment they arise together with the conditions and they immediately cease when conditions cease. This is the reality we understand. For that, first of all, we should listen to this message and we should reflect on it again and again. Finally, Buddha says, we have to practice, we have to meditate. Concentration or tranquility meditation and insight meditation. Buddhism says, as an intelligent person, as a wise person, the highest education that we can receive through our life is that understanding the five aggregates. The five aggregates of thinking. What are the five aggregates? Rupa, forms, Vedana, feelings, Sanya, perception, Sankhara, mental formations, and Vijnana, consciousness. Our entire life is these five aggregates. Even though we say, I have my children, I have a car, I have several houses, even though you say that your properties, your dowry is that five aggregates. Our real dowry, our real property, our real, relative is that these five aggregates. What is the nature of these five aggregates? They are impermanent. Understanding the five aggregates is the highest education in Buddhism. That's the second one. Buddha says, what are the things that an intelligent person can overcome? Avidya, bhavatanha. Avidya means ignorance, and bhavatanha, attachment to the world. These are the things that we can overcome, that we can reduce. These two things, attachment and ignorance. And the third one, Buddha says, as an intelligent person, as a wise person, the highest qualities that we can practice are tranquility and insight meditation, samatha and vipassana. Our real success is the duration of concentration and insight meditation. Even though we have a lot of children, relatives, friends, and properties, they are not the real success in our life. Even though we have a lot of degrees, master degrees, doctorates, money, actually they are not the real success in our life. Our real success in our life is that the duration of concentration and insight meditation. If we are able to increase the duration of tranquility and insight meditation, it means we are rich in everything. The reason is that outside persons and things are unable to disturb our mind, disturb our peace of mind. Even our physical body is unable to disturb our peace of mind when we are going to old age, sicknesses, dying. Actually, even our physical body is unable to disturb our peace of mind. What is the reason? We don't depend on even our physical body. We depend on completely in our wisdom. Yes.
So you mentioned earlier that our understanding is also impermanent, right? So what happens when we grow old and then people we gonna also forget, the teaching of the Buddha. For instance, if I grow old, and then what happens if I forget everything I learned? Is it also that means our understanding is impermanent?
Actually, it can be explained in primary level and higher level too. In the primary level, the mental formations, according to Buddhism, when the main concept in Buddhism is mindfulness. When we develop mindfulness, our memory little by little increases. If we forget something, it is a big mistake. Buddhism never says us to forget anything. Forgetting is a mistake. When we develop our mindfulness, we can imagine, we can remember anything, not only in this life, even our previous experiences, we can understand. When we develop some psychic energies, Pubbe Nivasansta Jnana, then we can remember our even past experience too. Memory is not the fault. Memory is not the problem. Problem is that when we remember something, if we think it is permanent, that is the problem, that is the cause of suffering. I explained that even our understanding impermanent. It means we don't keep something impermanent. What is that? Why is that? Our five aggregates, even Arahantas, even Arahantas live in five aggregates. But they don't have the five aggregates of clinging. That is the difference. Five aggregates. Arahantas' understanding also is included in their five aggregates. But that five aggregates is not permanent. Their wisdom belongs to five aggregates. But at that moment, they have overcome forms or rupa. They live in four aggregates. But they realize that every moment this understanding, this wisdom, these five aggregates arise and cease. They are only seekers. They accept this reality. They don't struggle. They don't fight with this impermanence. That is the difference of their life. Okay. Good question. Anything else that you have to ask?
What you asked was like, sometimes, let's say, we are practicing the teaching, but like when you grow old, what if you get like dementia, like you start forgetting things, right?
Actually, sometimes, when we practice some meditation techniques, we can overcome some mental illnesses too. In some levels, not always. According to Buddhism, all mental sicknesses depend on defilements. Unwholesome mental thoughts. Little by little, we develop our mind with mindfulness. The center point is mindfulness. The five spiritual faculties, Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. Saddha means confidence in the Buddha's message. Virya means energy. Sati means mindfulness. Samadhi means concentration. Panya means wisdom. These are the five spiritual faculties. And the center point is mindfulness. When we develop mindfulness little by little, our memory gradually increases. Then, little by little, we are able to reduce some mental illnesses too, but some levels. Sometimes we have to get some, physical medicine too. Sometimes some sicknesses can be reduced by some meditation techniques. Even anger, even jealousy, those are the mental illnesses. Lust, lustful desire, they are also mental illnesses. By practicing some meditation techniques, little by little, we can overcome them. Finally, the main mental illness is that delusion. That is the worst mental illness. If we are able to reduce this worst mental illness that we are able to overcome all the illnesses, mental illnesses.
So is delusion the same as ignorance?
Yes, we can say both are same in Buddhism, avidya or moha. It means when we look at something, we think there is something outside. And also we think that after we experience, it remains. For example, if someone has blamed you, when you remember it, you think still it is happening. Still that person is blaming you. It is true? No, it is not true. It has ceased. But we are blamed ourselves. That person has forgotten everything, but still we are blamed by ourselves, by our ignorance. And also, when we experience something, if you experience this glass, you may think that everyone experiences this glass in the same way. Actually, this is a water glass for myself, for my world. When there is another being like ghost, he may experience this glass in another way. This is a world for you, for me. But if there is a ghost here, is this a wall for him? No, he can go through the wall. He can see through the wall. This is a wall for our world. Because of our mental formations in this human realm, these are walls for our life. But if there are some ghosts or some deities, these are not walls for them. They can see through the walls, they can go through the walls. But our ignorance doesn't believe it. Our ignorance always says that whatever I experience something, it is same for everyone. When we overcome delusion, these delusions gradually overcome. And then finally, we don't take anything there is or even there isn't. That is the very important thing. If we think there isn't something, that is an extreme. If they say that there is something, that is an extreme. Buddha says very clearly, if we see the arising of five aggregates, we never go to the extreme of nihilism, Uchchedavada. If we see the cessation of these experiences, we never go to the extreme of eternalism, Sasvatavada. These two extremes should be reduced, should be overcome in one vision, one philosophy. What is that? The dependent origination, Patisampada. When conditions are together, the experience arises. When they cease, the experiences cease. We completely live in the present moment, seeing arising and ceasing. If we are able to contemplate on this reality, little by little we are able to overcome our mental illnesses. If we can keep our attention in this reality, at the moment we have no any attachment or any detachment with anything or anyone. Why is that? We don't find anyone or anything outside. When we recognize something, the first experience has ceased. When I preach something to you, I have made an audience through my mind. This is the reality. Okay, thank you for your good intention and good listening. By the power of all these meritorious deeds, may our departed relatives also receive this spiritual energy. May they enhance their lives, and finally, may they also attain the final bliss of liberation. With that intention, let's say Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu. By the power of all these meritorious deeds, may guardian deities and angels also receive this spiritual energy. May they enhance their divine energy. May they keep their eye on you too. With that intention, let's share these merits with guardian deities and angels too, reciting the Gatha. Akasata ca bummata devanaga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu sasanam. Akasata ca bummata devanaga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu desanam. Akasata ca bummata devanaga mahindika punyantang anumod chirang rakkantu tvang sada. By the power of all these meritorious deeds, may you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you. May no problems come to you. May no difficulties come to you. May your all righteous wishes meet with success. Finally, may all of us attain the final bliss of liberation. Dukkham panta ca nindukkham Bhayam panta ca nirbhayam Sokam panta ca nissokam Honto samve pipanino. All the blessings be with you.